Yo, this is Rue's room. Ninajirachi, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on. How are you
Thank you.
doing? What's been going on? How you doing? Like for real, for real. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I am good. I just drove up to Sydney from Melbourne yesterday, which was a big drive, but I'm really happy to be visiting Sydney. And yeah, I'm about to put out an album, so I'm so excited for that. I'm really happy and excited. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I am also excited, very excited for this album. I've been rinsing
Thank
it the
you.
past few days, and woo, if it is not bangers on bangers on bangers. But
Oh my God,
anyway,
thanks.
we don't get into that. It's fitting that, we are doing this over Zoom. We were originally going to do this in person, but, with the album called I Love My Computer, like it
Exactly.
it's fitting. It
It
made
was an aesthetic choice, if anything.
exactly.
Yeah.
It just lined up. It's how it was meant to be. It was how it was meant to be.
Uh-huh.
How was the trip? How was the trip? Was there anything you were rinsing on the way? Was it the album? Were you bumping anything else?
Oh my God, what were we listening to? We listened to the podcast Tape Notes, which I
Okay.
love so much. It's a music production podcast where the host sits down with an artist and whoever produced their album, whether it was like they're like a self-producer or like they had a producer and like their
Hmm.
collaborators, and they actually like a lot of music interviews are like I guess a bit more surface level, but this one they actually like have the sessions open and they solo tracks and they're like this part was a struggle and I made this part of it first and it's so cool. It's really about the production of the songs. Listen to hours of that on the trip, which was awesome.
For sure, for sure. I love that. And I love shows that really actually get into that deep dive about all the stems, like maybe it's even like the specific plugins or techniques that are
Exactly.
used. Like it's that super nerdy stuff that um anyone who appreciates their craft and how it comes along would love. So I love that. What was it called again?
Tape Notes. I reckon you would love it. It's so cool. And they have a lot of really interesting artists and all different styles of music on there. It's sick.
Okay, bet. Well, yeah, I definitely have to have to add that to my list. But yes, you are in Sydney currently. Again, I love my computer out August 8th.
Yup.
Following your last project, Girl EDM last year, a whole bunch of EPs, but it's finally debut album time. Um, with the release of this and everything that the law around you has come with, what do you think is one word that is wait, sorry. What is one word that is the greatest gift that your computer has provided you, if you can find one word?
Information,
Mm,
I think.
okay, okay.
Yep.
And we're definitely gonna definitely gonna get a lot more into that and what that entails. So, um, let's get into it. And I wanted to kick off the conversation regarding the album about around probably my favorite song on it, which is "Sing Good." Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I love that. I love the story. The about again going to school and what you were listening to and your experiences with in school surrounding your formative times of learning about production and messing around with things here and there, even your vocals and whatnot. And I want to firstly ask about this assignment that you got 40% on. Um, uh, I'd love to hear more about that story. What year were you in? Like, do you remember what the specific of the assignment was asking?
Yeah, thank you for asking this because I really wanted the chance to obviously the lyrics kind of speak for themselves, but I did want the chance to elaborate on this story. So thank you. Yeah, I did music in high school in years 9 and 10. I didn't do it for the senior years just because I was more interested in other subjects at that point. But I had this I think it was either in year 9 or 10, but we had like an assignment and it was basically just like write a song, like write melody or whatever. And I think we had to use a DAW for it. I don't remember what it was, but we had to write like a melody with MIDI and like chords and kind of have an arrangement and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I just didn't understand the assignment, but I went really hard on it. I thought I wrote something like really beautiful. Like I thought the chords were really cool, the melodies were really cool. And I got it back and yeah, I got this bad score and I was like, "Oh my God, like how did I fumble it so hard?" And then I read the feedback and the feedback was something like um you used a cello preset and a cello physically couldn't play this melody. And I was like, "Oh, okay. We're just so on different pages here with like what you were asking and what I did, if that makes sense." So that I was like, oh my God, that's totally fine. You guys just you don't get it. Like I was kind of going for something different. And I guess yeah, it was maybe more of like a classical composition assignment, but I just kind of my head was like in the the uh the VSTs, you know.
No,
So it
for
was
sure.
just yeah, I was like, okay, it's not personal, you know, they don't get it. It's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Were
Yeah.
your teachers a lot more in the classical realm? Whether, yeah, were they a lot more in that traditional realm?
Yeah,
Or
definitely. Like I found like that's why I kind of didn't keep doing music in school after year 9 and 10 because I felt like what we were learning was really valuable and really interesting, but I'd kind of like I'd already been learning piano since I was like 7 or something, and I feel like I'd kind of gotten all of the music theory or like everything I needed like past that. I feel like I'd just be kind of learning things that weren't really like applicable to this kind of music that I like.
yeah.
Yeah, not that it was like not valuable for other people, but I was just like, okay, I think I'm want to do some other subjects. But yeah, it was still a great time. Yeah, high school music was really fun. It was yeah, not serious. It was great for year 9 and 10, you know?
No, for sure. And I totally know that experience. And like again, that story, even though I did go on to do HSE music, is still extremely relatable as someone who loves hip hop. But
Mm.
I grew up playing and I still play violin and trumpet, so I have that classical background.
That's
Um,
so cool.
so but having those teachers that's like you want to do something that's a little more modern and or like again of the current times, but it's like, okay, compose this thing on Sibelius or whatever like composition thing. It's like, man, can you just
Sibelius. I think that was it actually.
oh, it's
That
on
sound rings a
Sibelius.
bell. I think so.
Oh,
It's kind of
true.
like a sheet
Notation.
music DAW kind
Yeah,
of. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Crazy. Yeah, I think that was it.
No, for sure. And like it's cool having those perspectives, but when you're again being influenced and listening to styles that aren't more traditional, then doing something like you said with the cello where the melody's doing whatever it's doing, it's like, okay, I get it for school, sure, but like you said in the song, it's like they're not seeing what I'm seeing. So
Yeah, exactly.
no, but that's cool. That's cool. And then also in that school realm, you kind of talked about again being on the bus, listening to like sharing a headphone with your friends. Again, messing around with GarageBand. Were there some uh, any particular tracks or artists that really helped in that specific formative time of listening and messing around with early production and artistry?
Yeah, absolutely. The first, well, I'd kind of heard like bits and pieces of EDM and electronic music before that. Like my parents really loved Daft Punk and Kylie
Mhm.
Minogue, and I even like was a really big Lady Gaga fan when I was a kid, which is like kind, you know, there's like a lot of her music is kind of electronic or dance and stuff, and so I already kind of had like a bit of a palette for it. But then I think the first song I really heard where I was like, oh my God, I need to know what's going on here was it was in the background of a YouTube video on how to tie-dye denim shorts, and it was the Madion pop culture mashup. And I was just like, oh my God, like what am I listening to right now? And obviously that was like really viral at the time. I didn't know, I had no context for anything. I was like 12, but I was just like, this is crazy. And I realized he had other original music and got really into him. And then like his adjacent artists like Porter Robinson and Dead Mouse, and obviously like Skrillex was really big at the time. Or he's still like amazing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Bangarang was coming out, like it was that time, and yeah, I would just it was like before. I think it was like maybe just before Spotify was a thing, and it was like those YouTube caching apps that you would like have on your phones. Like when you're on Wi-Fi, you would like offline YouTube videos,
Yeah.
and then I would just yeah share like a headphone with my friend on the bus,
Mhm.
my friend Zara, and we had like an from my house to my high school, it was like an hour one-way bus trip, so it was just perfect for like uh looking into music or just like listening to it. So
True.
yeah, I think yeah, Madeon was the first that was the first where I was like, whoa, I want to like know how to do this kind of thing.
True, true. And do you also remember the specific moment where you like first opened GarageBand and was like, okay, maybe I could kind of do something, or you started messing around with some sounds or some, production techniques, and you're like, maybe I could make something of this.
Yeah, well, I can't super remember the first time only because the first time was not very serious and it was like a lot. It was well before I really started trying to make good music. It was because my mum got an Apple computer when I was about like 8 or something, and she was really generous in just like letting me have a go at it. And like, so I would just go on like iMovie and GarageBand and even like iWeb. It was like an old app where you could make website templates and
Yeah.
stuff, and I would just make stuff. So I was literally just little and on GarageBand, like dragging in Apple loops, and then I would just record through the MacBook mic over the
Hmm.
top of it, like my clarinet or like something like that.
Yeah.
So that's my earliest times using it, but I really wasn't trying to make music. I was just kind of being like, oh, this loop goes on top of that one, and that's cool. And I made a song. But I would say the first time I really tried to make a song was when it was like around that time where Lana Del Rey was getting really big and there was heaps of like really popular EDM remixes
Mm.
of Lana Del Rey, or even like just after that with like the kind of like majestic casual like chill wave
Yeah.
lo-fi bedroom beats kind of thing. And I just kind of tried a hand at that on GarageBand, and it was so bad. I still have it. The first one, it was like 8 minutes long and so bad, but it's like really endearing. So I think that one was the first time I was like, okay, let me try and make something like this. But yeah, it was I soon realized that maybe GarageBand was a little limited for what I was trying to do as well.
No, for sure, for sure. Oh goodness, the when you start to go into that mode where you're like, okay, let me actually do something a bit more serious, and you play it back, and you're like, oh, in the moment, you're like, yo, this is it, this is hard. And you listen back, like I don't know, a couple years later or 5 years later, or you dig it up, and you're like, ooh, I don't know what I was doing, but I'm not getting rid of this because this is the core, this is the roots of where I started. Like, no, I love that so much.
Yeah. Isn't it so nice though? Because also it's like you can hear your own progress and like where you've come from and stuff. And like if I like listened to my songs from 10 years ago and I was like, wow, I haven't grown since then, that would be really worrying. So kind of nice to listen to the old ones and be like, whoa, you know what I mean?
For sure, for sure. And do you feel like as you also grow in your career, um, maybe looking back some of your earlier releases, like formal releases, regardless of how you feel about them, or how you might feel about them in 5 years, do you kind of sit with them like, I don't want to get rid of them ever off the DSPs. Like they need to stay there so people can hear how this progression was from the jump.
Yeah, I think so, especially because a lot of my oldest music, if you go back through it all, is really teenage sounding to me in the sense that like I was making it before I had been to any clubs or like played any shows. Because then once I started playing shows, I was like, oh, this is the kind of music I like to DJ and I wanna, and that started informing what I was making. But I
Mhm.
didn't have any of that context or kind of any of those references before like when I was first making music. So I don't even know if I would make that style of music again. Like I listen back to it and I'm like, oh, this is just well, it's like more pop music. It's like not really DJ friendly. But yeah, I would never there's sometimes where I'm like, oh, that's a little bit beta sounding or something, but it's fine. It's nice to have it up there. I was so young anyway, like it's kind of cute to listen to sometimes.
No, for sure, for sure. Amazing. And just as a final thing on the formative years or kind of the transition, obviously you grew up in the Central Coast, and from there moved, and this kind of goes into, myself, my friend's story, where we've kind of come from locations, one of my friends being from the Central Coast,
Oh, no
and
way.
moving down into Sydney itself. What was that experience when you finally touched down in, I assume you moved to Sydney, or did you go straight to Melbourne?
No, yeah, I moved to Sydney first for about 3 years before
Yeah.
moving to Melbourne. Yeah.
What was that initial experience when you finally got out of a place, got out, when you finally moved from a place with like the Central Coast, where obviously the scene is not as, um, there's not a lot going on. Um, yeah, like, do you feel like you, again, hit the ground running, or was there a bit of a readjustment period? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like by the time I actually started living in Sydney, it felt like super overdue. Like I'd already been kind of coming down every week, at least
Mhm.
once a week for like a year or two. And a lot of my really close friends had already moved to Sydney by the time I did. Um, almost all of my really close, like hometown friends now live in Sydney. So by that point, heaps of them had moved down. And yeah, it just kind of felt overdue by the time I eventually got down and to live there and stuff. But yeah, it was always like something I wanted to do because I mean, yeah, you know how it is. It's like when you grow up in a small town, you kind of have to fill in the gaps with your imagination a lot, or like the internet is like such a big thing, or that's why like the computer is like access to the rest of the world, and then finally getting to the city where there's like shows and live music and clubs and just like stuff going on. It's a lot more stimulating, and yeah, it was really exciting. It was just a relief by the time I finally got to be in Sydney all the time, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like you kind of just mentioned, you're able to kind of expand, who were interacting with. Obviously, like you've mentioned from the top, and like you mentioned throughout the album, like you've had said computer, but do you feel like there were any networks, communities that once you started to move into, the more mecca of where things were, that you started to interact with a bit more, that really, again, helped push your um career even further?
In Sydney?
Yeah. Or even
Yeah,
like from when you got to Sydney, even, as you moved to Melbourne, and from there.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think because when I was younger, my only access to all of that kind of stuff was like through the internet. I didn't really have any in-person friends who were like into that kind of music so much, or yeah, the specific maybe like niche of music and stuff. But then I think my whole world opened up honestly when I met Nina Las Vegas when I was
Mm.
in maybe my last year of high school, I think. And yeah, I started going to Sydney to do sessions with her. Like we were making music together, and then I had been working on my first EP, and she wanted to release it on her label, which is crazy because I was like been a fan of Nina since I was so little. She's the
Yeah,
best. And yeah, through her I just got to meet so many cool people, and like I met Coda Banks through Nina, and she became one of my best friends, and we started making music together all the time. So yeah, Nina was so generous to me and like bringing me into her world and stuff when I was little. I feel like it really kind of cracked open and yeah, it gave me like a lot of access, and I got to make a lot of awesome friends through her. So yeah, she's the best. Yeah, she's like a big sister to me. I just love her.
for sure. For sure. And since learning from Nina, and anyone else, do you feel like you've been able to then, you know, succeed with your own communities that you've started? I know there's, yeah, you have a Discord server that you've been running for the past few years. Yeah, how do you feel like learning from them has been able to formulate, again, the experiences that you can then provide for others who want to get into this space, and again, go experience what you've experienced?
Yeah, fully. Well, I mean, that's kind of, I feel like why a lot of people make music is because they get this feeling from listening to other people's music, or like any kind of creative thing. Like you just get this like awesome feeling from consuming something, and you're like, oh my God, the only way I can get even closer to that is to try and create something like it. Like that's the only way to really like swim in it and stuff. So yeah, and I was such a huge fan of Nina's music and her label and like her peers that were releasing on her label, and then to yeah, so that she's been like a huge role model for
Mhm.
me in that yeah, she kind of just like works with her close friends and she's very kind and generous to everybody and she's like really cares about community and diversity and that's just been like a huge thing for like, it was just she was an amazing role model to have when I was little, you know what I mean? So yeah, I love my Discord server as well. Everyone is like really kind in there and it's nice to have something that's a bit more niche than like the other social media and stuff where it's like people who really are like switched on to kind of everything and you can kind of share stuff in there a bit earlier or like they pay closer attention to things that like casual fans don't and yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. And yeah, I love that. I love that. Especially again, when you can form that kind of niche where conversations are a lot more detailed and yeah, specific to what everyone needs at that time. Um,
Yeah, fully.
I got a couple more questions on the album before we get into a bit more of Rouge Room staples to start closing out. Do you have a favorite plugin from the creation of the album that you have used, and do you have a favorite use of it on the album?
Oh, okay. Honestly, a lot of it is sample based. So I would say Ableton Simpler. I know that's really basic, but like a lot of it is kind of self sampling and stuff, or just like re-sampling things and stuff. I would say also Synplant. I love the Synplant 2 generative thing. Yeah, it's fun to just kind of like set like have an audio track with Synplant set as like a an input to that an inner loop and just record it kind of generating a whole bunch of stuff like even just dropping my like cuts of my voice in there and seeing what it spits out because it always gets it wrong but it sounds pretty cool and
Mhm.
then just repurposing that material yeah just kind of yeah those two I would say like I know like sampling and resampling maybe is a basic answer but it's honestly probably just the thing I did the most with this album or like my music in general.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, again, to you it might seem simple. Obviously, to the regular listener, it's like, whoa, what's going on? But the thing that separates good from great is just the how you use those simple things. You look at someone like Steve Lacy who records a whole song on a phone, and it's like, yo, how'd you do that? Or Joji who produces like his whole album on GarageBand or something, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Less about the tools and more about the person and how it's being used. So, yeah, no, I love that. Even if it might be the simplest thing. Um, and do you have a favorite use of it on the album? Like a favorite song
Oh,
that used it? Even
maybe
if
like
yeah.
oh, I don't. Oh, okay, maybe on the song Fuck My Computer. That was
Mm,
like the whole like kind of lead section that sounds like all the computer noises and stuff were all just resampled from one synth jam. Like I don't know, I find like really detailed. I know like the dubstep producers are really crazy with all the automation and all the details, but like I can't really get my head around that. So I prefer to just re-sample myself doing all the changes live and then like turn that into something and that was kind of how that song came about. I just
mhm,
was moving a bunch of stuff around and then just kind of sequencing it in a way that sounded like a computer freaking out and it happened really quickly as well. It was like when you find a gimmick and you're like, oh, that just works, I don't have to do anything else. Like I don't have to fight for this song, it just kind of fell into my lap, so that's why I really like that one, I reckon.
No, I love that. I love that. Nice and natural. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. And then my final thing on the album is the only feature, which is Dane, who is fitting on It's You towards the back end. How did y'all come to link on this, and what was the decision to only have one feature on the whole project?
Yeah, it wasn't like, well, I think it was, I didn't really want any features, but this song was just such a natural fit that it kind of was an okay, well, not okay, it was a great compromise for that rule. Just only because I was like wanted my voice to be on every song and then so I didn't feel like I needed features, if that makes sense. But this song was just such a natural fit because yeah, Dana and I have known each other for ages because I produced on one of their tracks in like 2020 or 2021. So we've been in touch for ages, and like we have a lot of mutual friends and some like similar fans and stuff. And we made this song in 2023 we were both in New York, and we met up for a session in New York, and we made the start of this song, It's You. And it kind of sounds like kind of similar to what it's like, super rough, the V1, but it's not that far off how it ended up. It's like a way less polished version. And yeah, I think it kind of sat around for ages, and like nothing was really happening with it. And I showed it to my friend Aria, who shot the cover art for the album, and she was like, "Oh my God, like you need to finish this song. It's so good." Like she really loved it. So she was the one who pushed me to finish it. So I hit up Dane and I was like, "Do you mind if I have this on my album?" And they were like, "Oh, I would love you to." So then we went back in the studio with Darcy Bayless, Dane and Darcy work together all the time, and Darcy I co-wrote two of my other songs on the album with Darcy, which were iPod Touch and Info Hazard. So it was just already like kind of in the family. And because I think we just needed, it had been so long since we made the demo, we just needed like a third set of ears to like kind of help put the last bits together. And Darcy recorded Dane's extra vocal, like the new vocals. And yeah, that was only like early this year that we finished it off. But yeah, I was so stoked to have, yeah, it was Dane and I have collaborated before, but on one of their tracks. So it was nice to kind of do that again. And I'm so stoked to end it up on there for real.
No, for sure, for sure. And again, it's nice when it again happens naturally. I can see coming into again your debut album being like, nah, I kind of want this to be all me, just keep it nice and clean. But again, when the people speak, sometimes you got to listen, especially when it's a homie who again you trust and slash or you have such a great chemistry with someone where it's just like, nah, we gotta run this. We gotta make sure it finds a place. So no, I love that.
Exactly.
I love that. So going into a bit more of the ruse room parts of this before we start to get out. What I like to do is take it back to primary school days, do a little bit of a show and tell. Um, we had a little bit of discussion about this, so you're gonna have to use those watching, use a bit of your imagination. However, hopefully we can use some movie magic and edit some things. However, I have asked Nita to find some things that if I walked into her creative space that would stick out and make me go, yo, that must be a dope story behind that item right there. Um, I've asked her to find an item that is sentimental, one that has a funny story behind it, and one with a life-changing story behind it. So,
Mm.
if you have those in mind, maybe let us kick it off with what is something that if I walked in and I'm like, yo, what's the story behind that? And it's got a funny story behind it.
Funny story one would probably be so in my last house before this one, I lived with like three or four other people. So it was kind of like a busy house of friends, and we're always kind of going into each other's rooms and hanging out. But I would always record vocals at home. So when I was recording, I would write on just scrap bits of paper, "I'm recording, please don't come in," and stick it on my doors just so they knew not to like knock mid take or something. And I just could never get rid of, I never wanted to throw them away, these bits of paper. And I'd be like, oh, I'll just reuse this one next time I go to record. So I'd put it away somewhere, and then
Mhm.
I'd do that again, but I'd lose the bit of paper. So I'd write another one.
Yeah.
And then when I moved houses, I kind of found them all and just stuck them all up on my, and now I only live with one other person who knows when I'm recording. So I don't need to do it. But I
Mhm.
kept all these bits of paper, and my walls are pretty like decorated. Like I just have a lot of like art and bits and pieces like paraphernalia, like stuck up memorabilia and stuff all over the walls. And so I just have like a bunch of these like recording vocals don't come in, like scrap bits of paper, not heaps of them, like less than 10, but they're all kind of like arranged together. So that might be funny. Like if you walked in and didn't know the story, you might be like, why does she have that?
Yeah.
It's not very like pretty looking, but I think I just can't get rid of them. I think they're really cute.
No, I love that. And I did exactly the same thing when I was still at home. And like
Oh, really?
again, your parents just be, they just be knocking on doors, they just be walking in. I'm like, nah, piece of paper, big red circle colored in like it's a recording light. Like, no, stop. Don't. I'm doing things.
No, exactly. Yeah, especially because I lived in this house in a lot of COVID and it was fun. Like I lived with like a lot of my best friends and we were so bored. Like it was COVID, we couldn't go anywhere, so we'd just like burst into each other's rooms, be like, "What are you doing? I'm so bored." And there were times where I was like, "You can't be doing that. Like I need to get this done," kind of thing. So yeah, you totally get it.
Was there a time where you were like working on something or recording something particular and someone ignored the sign and you're like, yo, what was that?
No, that hasn't. There's never been a really bad time. Sometimes I don't mind it, like if it happens by accident every now and then, because it can be like a happy accident, like with a bit of background noise. Like you never know if it's going to come out cute or something. Um, but no, they were generally pretty respectful. If it did happen, it probably did. I can't remember any particularly bad times. Yeah, the signs worked pretty well.
Okay, good to know the system is it's
Yeah, the
solid.
system's working.
Okay, what would be something that's sentimental if I clocked it?
Sentimental. Oh, there's a lot of sentimental. My I have the like all of my music stuff is just in the room where I sleep and stuff. So there's a lot of sentimental stuff around. I mean, actually, you know what? I would say like my a lot of my candy is really
Sure.
sentimental and I just kind of wear it every day a lot of the time and it's kind of hanging by my desk a lot of the time. These all I'm pretty sure these all came from fans that I met on tour, which is really cute and they all say like they most of them say girl EDM. This one says girl EDM. This one says 4562, which is from the kind of Discord ARG
Yep.
situation. There's another girl EDM, girl EDM. This one it just says, oh no, girl EDM. I thought it just said girl. There's a Ninajirachi one, girl EDM. This one just says ah. And it's got the Kirby on it, which is kind of funny. And then this one says hardcore. And I've got so many more, but I'm just wearing four on each wrist today. But yeah, those are really sentimental to me because yeah, like girl EDM kind of started as like a silly joke. So when I go on tour and people like really connect with it and give me stuff like this, it's like really unforgettable. So yeah, I keep all of it and wear it all the time, and it's always near my desk where I'm working.
Yeah. No, that's fire. That's fire. And it's cool when you have that thing that people clock you for, or like that little item that's again when you go to a show or someone runs into a fan or even like again maybe someone from a different band or someone you're opening performing with that they're like, yo, I got this for you. That's super cool. I remember comedian oh, uh Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy. If you know Fluffy, like they said people used to bring him like chocolate cake because he always
Oh
used to
no
sell a
way.
lot of chocolate cake into the shows. So um, but do you remember the first one that you got and like the yeah, where you were, like what the situation was?
I think the first, I can't entirely remember, only because I've been playing shows in Australia for so long, but I definitely remember the first one I got in America was in Denver,
Mhm.
maybe. Yeah, it was like on my first tour in America. And yeah, I met two girls who gave me some candy and it was I think I can't remember if it just said Ninajirachi or maybe it said something else, but they also like the whole like plur culture and like candy exchanging and stuff is so much bigger there. So a lot of this I like got in America, to be honest. But yeah, I think the first one was at my first show in Denver in 2023, and there were maybe like 30 people there, if that. But this one girl had driven from another state and brought me a gift, and I'll never forget it. So cute.
Wow. That's dope. I love that. I love that.
So nice.
No, for sure. And finally, what is something that if I saw it, it has a life-changing story behind it?
Mm. It's so hard not to just say my computer because it's like
Sure.
it's literally it's just I mean I don't know, maybe if I pull it down you'll be able to see the keyboard on the webcam, but this it
For
that I'm
sure.
using right now because it's just I don't know, it's so I probably sound like a like broken record because it's a whole thesis of the album or whatever, but it's just really connected me to the rest of the world. Like I probably wouldn't know about any of my favorite artists if I didn't have access to a computer and the internet and stuff. And like yeah, there's obviously like parts of the internet really like damaging and bad and stuff, but at the same time I just like wouldn't have the life I have without it. So yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm a self-taught producer and I don't come from like a musical family or like a media family or anything, and I just got to be able to look things up on YouTube and download free software and teach myself after school. And that's so cool. I'm so grateful I've been able to do that. Yeah, not many other times in history I would have been able to be a computer musician, you know what I mean?
No, 100%, 100%. Um, can you picture what that alternate reality would look like if you never happened upon a computer?
Oh my God. I
Or not at that
reckon
time? Like when you did that transitioned into yeah, loving music and starting to produce and stuff like that?
I think like well my the I wanted to do a lot of things when I was in high school, like as a career. Like probably the most frequent one that I would come back to was like working in film, like being like a film director or something. But even that, I feel like I needed my computer to be able to, you know, see my favorite movies and be like, I want to do that. I reckon something with animals, like kind of like something in animal conservancy, or like maybe I'd be like a zoologist or like a marine biologist or something, because I've always really loved animals and nature. So yeah, maybe if I never had a computer, that's probably what I'd, if I never saw
Yeah.
my favorite movies or heard my favorite music, if that was all off the table, it'd probably be something to do with
Still,
animals and nature.
your music is animal sounds. It's just nature, just setting
There's a
it
lot of it in there. There is, yeah, like a
up.
lot of nature samples.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing. I love that. I love all of those responses. And my final one, which I am the most excited to hear from, is a Rouge Room classic. And what I'm going to get you to do is build your ultimate collab track. It is going to be yourself. I'm going to. Do you want to be on the vocals or do you want to produce this track? I assume you'd want to produce it. There's four other people. There's four other people on the track, like on the vocals, by the way. So
Okay,
either
cool.
you're one and three other vocalists, or you're producing for four other vocalists.
Ooh, I would. You know what? I feel like if I had the opportunity to just be the producer and produce for four other vocalists that were all like way better vocalists than me, that would be amazing. Because like, yeah, you've heard sing good and stuff. I'm not a very good singer. So yeah, I'd probably take the
like,
chance to just produce other people, you know.
look, I try, I try something else, but give me the
Yeah.
buttons. I'm making some magic. Okay, fair enough. So it is going to be yourself producing four other artists, one director and one videographer,
Oh
and
my
all
God.
local.
Okay. Mallrat,
Hmm.
maybe what yeah, one of my greatest songwriting inspirations. uh Lonely Spec, who's also a producer. Mallrat's a producer too, but I would have those two on a track.
Okay.
Um, Lil Ket and Sydney Phillips,
Yeah.
and the director would be Passive Kneeling,
Okay.
and the videographer would be Billy Zamet.
Okay.
That would be
Nice.
my local that would be my like huge Australian collab.
Would you get anyone to? I know you have those guys as the as on the track, but excluding them, would there be anyone that you'd want to co-produce with, or you're like, nah, I got this. Box out. No.
Oh my God, I'd co-produce with any of them because all four of those artists that I mentioned are also producers. I
Yeah.
think all of my favorite artists are also producers, I find. I mean, there's so many that don't that I love as well, but I notice a lot of the time, yeah, artists who produce their own music just I don't know, it's so cool when people like are in control of like their whole vision and stuff. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's awesome. But yeah, oh my God, I'm leaving out so many amazing artists though. It's so hard to pick four, you know what I mean? But I would co-produce with any of those people that
Okay.
we could all be on vocals and production. Why not, you know?
No, for sure. For sure. And finally with this question, what can you envision happening in this music video for this track?
I think it would be really fun if we were all at like a strip mall or something, like something really suburban. I think all of the artists that I mentioned are either from a country town or like Brisbane or Adelaide,
Mhm.
which some people claim are like big country towns. Not my words. I'm talking about what other people have said.
You said
um
that wasn't me.
no, no, no. Yeah, so it's maybe something like really, really suburban and small towny and something that kind of feels uh true to all of us, like hanging out at a strip mall. That could be cool. Like
Okay.
going to the shops. you know?
Sure.
I don't know.
Yes, that's some super. I love that. I love that. Okay, well, let's see if that collab can happen. Honestly, you could make it happen. Like, you could hit the ball up.
I reckon we
Cool.
could.
Let's run it.
It would be crazy. Oh, one day.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But anyway, that is pretty much it. Nina, thank you so much for jumping on, breaking down a little bit more of your album, which is what I'm going to give you the red carpet to do. What is coming up? What's all happening, about to come up in your world?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the thoughtful questions too. Like I really appreciate it. It's been so fun to chat. Well, coming up, I have my album, which just came out on August 8th, called I Love My Computer.
Yep.
It's out. I'm about to go on tour in Australia for Dark Crystal with Umru and Magna Carta, and all of those shows are sold out. So can't wait to see you guys who have got tickets. And then after that, I'm going to America to tour there for a month and a half
Mhm.
for the album. And then I'm coming back and doing some festivals in Australia, Spilt Milk, and a couple of others. And I can't wait. I'm so excited.
No, for sure, for sure. That spilt milk lineup, ridiculous,
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
crazy. But amazing. I have one more question speaking on the album before I let you go. Shout out to my guy Daniel who helped me with those questions. And is a big fan of yours as well. He was like, I want to know if there's a physical version of this record going to be
Oh,
coming.
yeah. Yeah, there is. I think by the time you guys hear it, you will have been able to pre-order it. It's in the works. It's 100% happening. The
Okay.
physicals, yeah. Sometimes things can take a little while, but we're on it. The physical's coming.
Amazing. Well, again, Nina, thank you so much for jumping into Roosh Room.
Thank you so much for having me.